It is official. Here we go. We are live. The Help a Teacher Facebook Live every Monday night. I think I can't believe, like, I'm looking at the episode number 20. How crazy is that? We've done 20 weeks in a row, and it's been amazing. And if you think about that, we've had just hundreds of thousands of views and comments, and it's amazing. And tonight we got a very unique guest. But before we get into it, this is one of my favorite things that we do. Is I want to talk about Craig Newmark Philanthropies. What a wonderful sponsor. So each and every week so far, Craig Newmark Philanthropies has stepped up, and they know the value of teachers, and they love teachers, and they're just passionate about the work that you guys do. And tonight, again, we're giving away 200 bucks, and you get to pick an Amazon gift card, or you get to pick a Target gift card. And the last one, I can't remember this guy's name. Let me see if I can pull it up my phone real quick. He won, and he did the Amazon gift card. And I remember because I know. All right, there it is. Jim Tobin last week, he won, and this guy, he used his gift card to buy 4 books, all the Uncovering Student Ideas in Science books, volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I love that this dude get to add to his professional development library. Hey, people joining in already. I love it. And so let's get this thing started. So on the show this week this is crazy. We were just talking about Rich Redmond and we have known each other a really, really long time. I'm talking multiple decades. And I know it is crazy. So decades, night we figured out it was 1988. The August of 1988 when we first met at Texas Tech University, and we just been in each other's lives over the last 32 years. And I know, ouch, right? And so here's what I love about Rich is, he's been on the road for I don't know how many decades with Jason Aldean, playing in stadiums across the globe and the most amazing music venues. But in addition to that, he's an actor, he's a speaker, and he's a teacher. And we're going to cover a little bit of all that, but especially the teaching component. And he has a really interesting twist on all that he does. So let's bring him in, Rich Redmond. And I think if I have it correct, brother, you are coming to us from Nashville. Is that correct?
Music City, USA, man.
And you live right down on Music Row. Is that right?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, these streets, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th Avenue, 4 streets, is the entire music industry. So all the songs that you're hearing on country radio are written here and recorded here. It's crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, is there any way to ballpark how many songs that you've been on? Like, I mean, is there a way to guesstimate how many songs as a drummer playing it? And I'm not just talking about like all the number one tunes. I'm just talking about in general. What would you guess? How many songs have been on the radio that you've been on?
Jeez. Maybe I've recorded 50 songs that you can hear like on the radio, and like 27 of them went on to be number one hits, which is crazy because a lot of drummers are like, I hope to play on a number one song someday.
Right.
And so I can't take too much credit for it. I basically, give it up to the fact that I relocated to a place where the action is, and
Yeah.
I met a group of guys that were like-minded, that had similar goals, and we were able to kind of navigate this crazy thing together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so, man, I want to go back when you were at what point did you catch that bug and where you want to be a musician and a teacher and all those things together? Was there a band director? Like, was that what it was for you? Was there a band director that was special in your life that really, helped nurture the passion that you had for music?
Yeah, my a lot of people in my family have had Alzheimer's, so my memory is not the greatest, but I do remember some very encouraging band directors at Texas Tech. Not at Texas Tech, of course, because you and I were in the band program there, but I went to J.M. Hanks High School in El Paso, Texas. And there was a gentleman named Orlando Calderon. And then after that, there was a gentleman whose first name was Tracy. Can't remember the last name. I'm so embarrassed. But they gave me a lot of performing opportunities, and they lifted me up and they cheered me on. And that's what I love so much about teachers. Teachers can make such a huge, impactful difference in students' lives. You know, the words that come out of our mouths, the things that we can do to encourage students. It's a typical day for us. We do it every day teaching, but those words can be so impactful, can change a student's life forever.
And you know what I love is, man, like you're thinking back and remembering how much of a champion that they were for you.
Oh yeah, like they saw me practicing before school and during class and at lunch and after school, and they're like, "Oh my God, this kid's here more than I am. I should probably like be like, yeah, go get him. Let's get you all the resources and things we could do for you to be successful in your private lessons and in band class and doing your all region and all state. You know, it was like solo and ensemble. Remember all that stuff? It was
Oh
like
my God. Yes.
to be in the Texas State concert band. I think I had to beat 8,000 other
Yeah.
percussionists.
I was one of them.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and there was a guy named Henry Vega, great teacher, and he would work with me at lunch and after school, and I think he's still at it. There's a lot of people that we went to school with, the Jimmy Olagis of the world that went on to become these world-class music educators, man.
Yeah, they're out there still doing the work. That's the when we look back and look at our time together, we spent at Texas Tech University. We were there for a few years together, and then you went on to North Texas after that. But if you look back and look at all those people we went to school with, all those, and they all became teachers, all those educators,
Yeah.
the amazing, like the numbers of them that are after 30 years are still out there, still doing the
Yeah.
work, still making a difference in the lives of kids. It's amazing. And like, that's the unsung heroes. Like, here's what's cool. Like, I travel around the nation. I do my thing. You're traveling around the globe. You're doing your thing. But the real heroic work that's happening in the classrooms each and every day, people showing up and make a difference in the lives of kids is just phenomenal, man.
Every day, you teachers showing up and just holding those kids' hands and letting them know what is possible, and just offering encouraging words, or offering your research resources and your insights to just to help those students achieve their dreams.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're lucky enough to have some really talented kids and some self-starters, but I also know there's the flip side out there, that the kids that really need the encouragement and the resources.
Yeah. And I think that, that's what we all learned going to school there, especially doing our student teaching and all that is, look, man, we're not here really creating a bunch of musicians, just like a science teacher isn't necessarily creating a bunch of scientists, and math teachers aren't really creating mathematicians. What we're trying to do is use the content of our classroom, the content of the band hall, the content of wherever that classroom might be, as the vehicle to change this kid's life and bring out the best that kid has to offer.
Sure. Yeah, man, and I love what you do. I mean, I've seen your thing so many times, and you will laugh and you will cry and you will learn, and it's one of those things where teachers. I don't know if you guys love your professional development days, those in-service days, and you're like, oh no, do I have to go to some death by PowerPoint thing? And then Hal Bowman shows up and changes your world. That's a great thing, man. You've always been so passionate about education, and didn't your didn't you come from a family of educators?
Yeah, man, like everybody. That's what you do. It's like being in the mafia. You can't
Your
get
mom
out.
and dad, right? Or your mom?
No, yeah, yeah. My mom and my sister was a teacher, aunts,
Yeah,
uncles, grandparents, the whole thing.
that's great.
And here's what I want to know, man. So you left school and you went and did the North Texas thing, and I don't want to get too music heavy, but you're living and working in Dallas, playing gigs every night.
Yeah,
You're playing 28, 29, 30 nights a month, and then
yeah,
you decide to move to Nashville. And when you show up in Nashville, like clearly you're there to be the star, right? But that doesn't happen. And if talk for just a second, what was it like when you first got there, like trying to get a gig?
yeah. I moved there on a Tuesday, and I had a job playing drums on Saturday, which is pretty crazy. But it wasn't like a career changing job. It was one of those things where, I was playing for the salad crowd, at a corporate party, and but it was great because that one handshake with that person led to another handshake and another referral and another opportunity, and I just kept trying to knock it out of the ballpark for everybody that would give me an opportunity. If someone cracks the door for you, it's your responsibility to kick that door open and to make the most of that opportunity. And that's what I always did. I always just tried to maximize opportunities, and I'm still trying to do that. And I realized that it's really it's not about, yeah, you need the experience, yeah, you need the skill set, but it really is about those relationships in life and people championing you, and teachers championing each other. When I do motivational speaking, I'm relying on, sure, there's some bureaus out there that might get me some work, but usually it's other speakers or people that I've met in the real world that I have a relationship with, well, that'll recommend me. So it's word of mouth.
Man, here's the crazy thing is, whether we're talking about sales, everybody knows it always comes down to relationships. When we're talking about like getting a gig in the music business, it comes down to relationships. In every area, it's always about, but it's no different than teaching. It's the same exact thing. Great teaching is always built on the firm, rock solid foundation of high quality relationships with kids, like, because that's when the real learning can take place. And more than that, just the learning, but that's when it's going to last, going to stick within the kid, and the kid is going to be able to take that information with them as they move through life.
Yeah, I mean, God, what doesn't every teacher want to be? Every kid's favorite teacher,
Yeah, like the
or when
one.
they give that graduation, speech, and they say, I want to talk about, like, for me in sixth grade, there was a guy, I think he passed, but his name was Mr. Whitehouse, and not a lot of people liked him. The other faculty members kind of feared him because he was operating on another level, and he really pushed us, man. We were studying Latin. We had a school newspaper. We had to show and tell. We had to do, it was heavy. And he expected us to read books that were that thick. I remember reading this book called The Clan of the Cave Bear, man. It was that thick. It was like a Tolkien book, and we had to do book reports. He did not go easy on us. But those of us that were lucky enough to be in his classroom, we don't forget that guy's name. Because
Right.
that was a game changer. And he didn't give us an award for just showing up to class. We had to do the work, man.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things different is, for sure, where, and when you get here's listen to this. This is so different. This was true about, I want to say it was 2 or 3 years before I graduated at this high school from which I graduated. Just a couple of years, I graduated in 1986. Just a couple of years before that, they used to line up kids not by alphabetical order. They put them in seats at graduation according to class rank.
Oh my God!
I know. So like the back row, like
So
this
was kind of like the kids knew that was coming up.
Yeah,
So
they knew this is part of the deal. Yeah.
Ooh.
They weren't really concerned about how you felt about it, not your feelings. This is just what was going to happen. And, and it's such a challenging society in which we live. Often, I can go both ways. I get it. Like every kid gets a trophy. There's part of me, I want every kid to feel successful for sure. I want a kid to have like an inventory of success they can draw from and build upon. But at the same time, I really want kids to know that there's some struggle involved, man. There's things that are going to get hard. And that's part of becoming better. Because here's what I know, man. Anytime I went through something that was really hard, I became better as a result of it.
Sure. I think school is, I haven't kept my finger on the pulse, but like all the guys in my band that have kids that are in school, they said like their kids have like a lot of homework. And I'm like, are they in the advanced classes? What is happening? Because that's not what I've heard in recent years. I heard it was like, yeah, man, I just show up. I don't even take my books
those days
home.
are long gone, brother.
Oh, really? So things are tougher now.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Dude, like there's second graders coming home with mountains of homework. Mountains.
So what is it like state to state because the requirements are different?
Dude, it's school to school. Like you just never know. Teacher to teacher. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, because of the mandatory state testing, a lot of teachers, a lot of schools, a lot of principals, school leaders feel that pressure to get this kid ready, which in my opinion, it's just not age appropriate, man. Like third grade for state, like this, we're just talking about a child. Like and to put that kind of pressure.
Like finger painting,
I was not anymore, man. I'll guarantee you this, brother. I want you to you can look up. I'll send you the state testing for like 9th, 10th grade end of course exams. There's no way you could pass it. There's no way you could pass it. No,
I'd have to bone up. Right? I'd like to straight up take a class to pass it.
Yeah, there's just no way. Like it's a whole different world. Remember when your parents would say, "This isn't my math. This is that new math." Let me tell you, man. There's new math, and it doesn't.
Very new.
It doesn't even make sense in my brain at all.
Wow.
I know.
Now these poor teachers that have to keep. Thank God there's a teacher's guide with
Well,
all the
thank God for
answers,
teachers
right?
to begin with. I mean, just the
Oh yeah.
fact that they're willing to play the game. That's the thing. That's what I love about educators the most is it's never been more challenging. It's never been more difficult. There's the expectations have never been higher, but you
Yeah.
know what? They show up every day. They keep coming back and that no matter how hard it gets, they keep coming back year after year because they love the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I see that all the time because I do I do some, school assemblies and I see them all coming in, the 8th through 12th graders, and they're all filing in. And oh my God, I love the schools where there's a culture of discipline, where the kids are, first of all, if there's discipline, you can actually teach and get and educate kids. But if you don't have that, it's chaos. How do you get
Yeah.
anything done? And
Man, it's always about that school culture for sure. Like, and whether it's a tone of discipline or where there's fun, but you know what it is, man, it's built once those relationships are in place, it's built on this foundation of personal respect for one another. And like in those places, that's when those magical moments can happen for sure. Hey man, let me ask you this. When you got to Nashville, how many years ago, because now you're on the road, you got this whole Jason Aldean thing has happened. The thing blew up like crazy, and
crazy. 20 years together.
you bet. So it was 20 years ago that you guys first played for the first time, or 20 years since it blew up into what it is today?
21 years ago, 1999. And then we recorded a first record in 2004 and started touring. So we've been touring nonstop for 16 years, which is like a really crazy thing in the arts or the music business. It's like the Wild West. There's no 401ks or retirements, or I mean, the selling point for me is I get a schedule a year in advance and I have a W-2 tax structure. It's like incredible gift. Because most musicians are like, how many weddings can I string together and private lessons can I string together and make this work?
Right.
It's tough. It's a tough thing, just like education. The inter-
Dude, you're no, your mic quit. I can't hear you. No. Technical difficulties, brother. You're a musician. You're a professional musician. I should be able to hear you. You should be able to like troubleshoot that immediately. Here, you want to log out and then log back in? Yeah, try that, man. Click that link again. So log out and then click the link and come back in. Yeah, Karen, listen. Hey, I'm so glad you chimed in with that. So what Karen says is that discipline also comes easier when we teach that social emotional skills and allow students to learn skills, resolve their, that's so true. And she's like we can call it discipline, I guess, if you want, but I think it's deeper than that. I think the discipline, that's almost a symptom of it, right? Like discipline happens as a result of all that other stuff, that social emotional stuff that we talk about with our kids. And
yeah.
yeah, so Rich, here's the other thing I was going to ask you is now that you're on the road and you're speaking at schools, you're doing your teaching thing, and you speak at corporations, schools, organizations, and this whole crash course that you do. I know that crash is an acronym. Now, when you speak and you're doing this crash course, tell me what the crash. Tell me the acronym again. The C, it's the R, the A, the S, and H.
Okay, so this was I got to give credit where credit is due because you and I, going back 32 years, you came out to see me play one time in
Yeah.
Houston. The show got rained out, and you and I ended up hanging out. I was like, how can I take my drum clinics and combine this with all of my interest in motivation and positivity, the Napoleon Hill, the Tony Robbins, put all this stuff together? You're like, what about something easy to remember, man? Like Crash. And then that became commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. And it took forever to write this darn book because I've been speaking on the subject for 12 years. And I finally said, I'm going to put the book out. But it was one of those paralysis things where you're like, oh my God, this is where this concept is going in an official format for the whole world to see for the rest of all time. It's got to be right. So, you keep rewriting the book. And what I've learned is just execute, just get it done, put it out, and move on.
Yeah.
But it's a
That
concept that's easy to remember. It'll work for a 5-year-old, or it'll work for a 50-year-old man that acts like a 5-year-old.
right. And so, not that we're naming names, but so the first one is commitment.
Commitment.
And when you're on stage talking to kids, for you, like in that component right there, that commitment component, how are you communicating that to the kids? Like what does that talk about?
I say, when your parents say they're going to want to lose 20 pounds and finally quit smoking, and they do that for their New Year's resolution, and then Valentine's Day comes around and your dad says, save a piece of cheesecake for me, I'm going back out to smoke. He hasn't truly committed in his mind first to make something happen. If you can conceive it and believe it in your mind, your actions will follow. And then the next thing I do is I walk around and I ask all the students, what do you like? What excites you? Boom, I put a microphone right in their face. And there's an 8th grade. He's like, video games? And I'm like, great. Do you know that you can design the video games? You can write the music for the video games. You can be an actor that puts electrodes all over your body, and you could become that character in that game. I go to the next kid and I say, what do you love? What interests you? I love football and basketball. I said, great. Do you know that you can go to college for free and then you can go pro? But your career's over at 35, and you better get on it. Your parents are going to love you if you can go to college for free, but it's massively competitive. So get on it. So I talk about the kids like immediately. The sooner you can find something that excites you, that you're passionate about, that makes you wake up every day and jump out of bed with a smile on your face, that's what you have to do. And I said, clock is ticking. I said, when you turn 18 and you leave that house and you have to pay for food, gas, shelter, clothing, cell phones, insurance, it's a lot of money. And $8 an hour ain't gonna cut it. So what are you gonna do? So I get all twisted sister on it. Like, what are you gonna do with your life? And they like it, and the parents like it, and the teachers like it, and they're all looking around at each other like, wow, this is a dose of like heavy stuff. And I say, sorry, they need to hear it.
Yeah. And I think that, honestly, man, there's no other time in our life, I think, where there's been an opportunity for kids right now to really pursue something they're really passionate about. There's so many opportunities that like I didn't have, like back, like we just had to get a job, like go find a company and get a job.
J-O-B.
And this is a time where for kids, I mean, like we always learned in, Sir Ken's TED Talk, like we're trying to teach kids that are going to solve solutions to problems that we don't even know exist yet.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we even do that? But I think you're right. Like that's the key, is just getting kids to follow their passion, whatever that is at the time. And here's like it's going to change. Yeah. It's okay if a 12-year-old wants to be passionate about video games right now. That's fine. Yeah. It might not be what he is at 17, but let's do it. Let's go all in on whatever it is right now. And then things are going to change because their kids are going to mature and their ideas are going to mature. And then whatever they're passionate about next, we go in all in on that.
Yeah, but just do something and pour your heart and soul into something. Now, I don't know. I don't think every kid is like this. I was fortunate that at such a young age, I found my passion, I found my purpose. And the sooner the sooner you can find it is the sooner the amount of time you can start putting those 10,000 hours in. And then when I say, you know what 10,000 hours is? It's like practicing 8 hours a day for like 365 days a year for like 8 years. Like, I don't know the exact math, but it's a long time. I said, I put in tens of thousands of hours, right? Which gives you a skill set that you can then monetize, because let's face it, life is very long when you do something that you don't like, which is so many people. Yeah. When you do something you love, the day flies by and you have joy in your life. And I just try to encourage them to think and to dig deep and to think about what really excites them, and then not waste any time and get good at something. Just get good at something, anything.
Yeah. You know what it is for teaching, man, is like, this is that one profession. For me, I can't imagine how anybody, it's so hard. I can't imagine how anybody could do this job who doesn't absolutely crazy love it.
Yes.
Like, it's so hard to begin with. Like, if you kind of like it, it's way too hard to do. For me, like, it's so hard that you have to be all in, so deeply passionate about the work and the kids and love it deeply to be able to make it through a school year, even, let alone a career.
Make for a day. Like,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. What is the retention rate for today's educators? Because I feel like in my day, the Mr. Whitehouses of the world,
Yeah.
they worked 30, 40 years as teachers and they retired, and it was like, imagine all the lives that this certain person touched.
Tens of thousands. Yeah.
Right. So now the retention, are people getting in and getting out? What is it like?
So it hasn't changed much. You know what the research tells us? It is about 50% of teachers are going to wash out in their first 5 years. So, and I can tell you this, it's also a much younger audience. So when I stand on stage and I'm doing my professional development events, like the ones you saw back then, I think you would be surprised at the average age of a teacher now that I stand before is a little bit younger. The key is for the washout of teachers, man. This is a good question. You know, I think that yes, we lose 50% of teachers in their first 5 years. For those that make it through the 5 years, they typically spend a career. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm not sure that we are supporting teachers enough in those first 5 years to give them all the professional development they need and the mentoring and the support. And lots of times, really young teachers go into really challenging situations that maybe they're not skilled enough for. Like that might require a skill set that takes years to develop and a maturity that takes years and some teacher wisdom that they just don't have in those challenging environments. Mm-hmm. So when you put all that together, man, it's a really hard business. It's a hard place for people to stay for a really long time.
Right.
And I'm fired up now. And if you couple that with how much teachers love their kids and they see sometimes the unfairness that they're presented with, like that's why this Help a Teacher page exists. Like some teachers, they don't even have money for copy paper. They don't have money for crayons. They don't have money for markers.
From the school.
Right.
The budget.
Right. So they're reporting, you know, the average teacher, I want to say is like $1,500. It's somewhere $1,000-$1,500 a year that the average teacher spends of their own money to support what their class needs.
No.
And that's why the beauty of the Help a Teacher page exists, because this is a place where teachers can post what they need, and someone around the globe who loves teachers and supports teachers is going to buy it for them and send it right to their school.
Well, Karen Waddell says we're overwhelming them in the first 5 years.
Karen, listen, everything Karen types when I'm watching her in the comments, she's smarter than me and you put together, brother. Yeah, guarantee it. Yeah, she's right. They're way over. Here's what teachers, this is it, man. And Karen knows, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it true? This is like the only profession on the planet where a first day teacher has the same expectations as a 30-year veteran. Like you're expected to do the same, and you never even taught a day in your life. And you're expected to produce the same results with with kids and their children. And, you know, it's it's really, really, it is, dude. It's really challenging.
Yeah. Is it more challenging? You know, because I was a substitute teacher when I moved to Nashville because I had my master's. So they're like, hey, we'll pay you $72.50 a day if you go get your tuberculosis shot. And go in with no lesson plan and be the stunt teacher for the day, which is like, wow. It's like, you know, you got to be incredibly brave. I did it. I ended up finding out that I got more personal satisfaction out of teaching K through 3 than I did the high schoolers because I felt like I was making an impact. Whereas the kids from the 8th grade on that had gotten their hormones all crazed, I wasn't reaching them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
here's what I always tell teachers. I'll tell you the same thing. I guarantee you, even as a substitute teacher, what you call a stunt teacher, I love that. Even as a stunt teacher, I promise you, those kids at that age, it appears like it's not getting in. They give you the impression they're not paying attention, that you're not making a difference. I promise you, something you said planted a seed in that kid, and today their life is different because of you for that one day. I know it's true. Like I've seen it so many hundred. I guarantee it.
So they're just playing it cool.
I don't know, or they're just silly at that age, man. They just don't know
Yeah.
how to respond. They're trying to figure out this adult thing, and they do that. They're trying to figure out what it means to be a growing person, and they're going through puberty, and it's weird, and they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to put on this. They don't know even know how to act or behave or become an adult. Yeah, but at third grade and second grade, they're still authentic and honest, and and just
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
How
Hey
are
man,
teachers? I was gonna. I'm asking you the questions today because
go.
this is something that's completely different than when I was being a stunt teacher. We didn't have cell phones, so
Yeah.
like how do you reach a kid who's distracted by their smart device? Do you
Yeah.
do you ban them all day? Because then what if mom needs to get a hold of them? Like how does it
Right.
work?
Man, this is such a good question. So every school has their own rules, their own policies, and within that, teachers adapt that in however they want to interpret it, and they do their own thing. And some of the most successful places I have seen really do a good job with digital citizenship and the appropriate use of cell phone, and there's
Huh.
a time and the place. And and a lot of classrooms have that cell phone hotel, they call it, where it's that shoe bag that you buy like Target or Walmart, where and everybody the kids go right to the shoe bag, and they drop their cell phone in their slot in the shoe bag right there in the class,
Wow.
so it stays right there during class.
Digital
But
citizenship. I love this.
this is a real
My
thing.
God.
Yeah. Welcome to the world that we live in, man.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's that is a huge challenge because it is such a distraction. And more than that, here's the unfortunate thing. If you look at teenagers today and you look at like this crazy steep rise of social anxiety, depression, and if you look at that same steep rise of the advent and increasing social media use, it's congruent. It's side by side all the way up.
So it's kids are comparing themselves to celebrities and influencers.
Yeah, and everything's photoshopped and filtered and compare themselves to each other. No one puts ugly pictures online, and yeah, like
I mean,
it really.
I'd love to iron my forehead right now. Is there like a skin iron or something that I can get that's out there?
We got to filter you. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you, dude. Let me ask you this: if when you go through your crash course,
Mhm.
and just that relationships component, that is such a hard thing I have found to explain to especially like kids, like in your approach, how are you talking about that?
I tell students, I say, look, you're going to go through life, and you'll need this thing called a resume. It's a list of your academic accomplishments and your skill sets that may allow you to get a job, and you're going to need that job to pay for the food, gas, shelter, mortgage, cell phone, all that stuff that you'll need after you're 18 years old. I said, but everything that I've been able to accomplish in my life, every great victory has come from the sweat of my brow and proving to another human being that I was worthy of their favor, and people going out on a limb and championing me and saying, Richie's going to be there because he'll be there on time. He'll be dressed, he'll be polite, and he'll be able to take direction from people without being offended, which is how we spend all of our lives. Because even if we're a very successful entrepreneur, we're always going to be answering to someone. Always. So I just say, look, at people should be your equity in life. Everything in my life has come through people and people putting their trust and favor in me. Earning people want to be around people that they know, like, and trust.
Right.
And the sooner you can figure out a way to be likable and interact with people and cultivate hopefully lifelong relationships. I mean, you and I might go a whole year without talking to each other, but we'll pick up right where we left off because we have this foundation in the sense that we recognize that you and I are birds of a feather and that we have the same uh, similar goals and desires in life, so we could pick up right where we left off.
Yeah, and work ethic for sure.
Work
You know,
ethic, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is just speaking with so many kids, so many teachers across the nation. That is, I don't even know, like, how do we teach that within our kids? And sometimes I wonder, man, is this like a genetic thing? Did they grow up like that? Like, how did, I mean, like, whether you or me or just whatever's a handful of us back in school are just so driven, and I wonder, where does that come from kids?
The drive, the work ethic.
Yeah.
I think that could be learned from, my parents. Like my dad was an accountant, like he was in the military, and then he worked in a bakery all day when he came out. I was born when he was in the Loch Ness on a submarine. He wasn't even there. And then he came and he worked at a bakery for 6 years and went to school at night to become an accountant and worked 30 years as an accountant every day, long hours. And my mom, 40 years of nursing, cancer survivor, raising a family. These are hardworking people. So I think I came from this stock where I learned from my parents that taught by example. I mean, before I was 10 years old, I shoveled snow, I raked leaves, and I had a paper route. And when I moved to Nashville, I rolled up my sleeve and started playing for tips and going and doing auditions in people's basements that were like something out of like Silence of the Lambs, man. I was hungry for success and to meet the right people and to connect the dots. And there's this cultural thing that's happening generationally where I don't want to sell out the millennials because there's some great millennials there, but there's also a bunch of them that are like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. They know, maybe God bless them. Maybe it's them knowing I know exactly what I want, and I saved a bunch of money before I moved to Nashville, so I only have to do what I have to do to get from point A to point B. You and I, we're willing to do anything, anything.
Yeah. You know what the other thing is, Karen's talking about, again, Karen's talking about that the work ethic of a person comes from the development of the social emotional skills early in life. And I believe it. And it's the lack of those social emotional skills that when we went to school, like it was taught at home and in the classroom constantly and consistently. And yeah. And for me, there's a lot of kids that have come through my classroom that really didn't have that foundation when they started first in life, and it's so it just
You can notice the difference.
oh my god, it's incredibly difficult to teach
But
work
can,
ethic.
could, can we as teachers fill in the gaps of what was not taught at home? Or no? Too
Here's
late.
here I've seen it both ways, like, but then
Yeah.
again, you never know, dude, because I'm telling you, like, I get to the end of the year and I'm thinking, well, I didn't work for that kid, like I tried everything, and then I find this kid 12 years later and he's killing it. It's like, well, maybe it did work. And like, and in addition to that is, if the kid also finds what you were talking about, his passion, that changes everything. Because maybe the kid is miserable. He's just not an academic kid. He's not into algebra. He's not into social studies. But he finds whatever that passion is. It might be sales. It might be, who knows what it is. And
Yeah.
then things really take off, and the kid is willing to work for that because he loves it so deeply.
Yeah.
So, I've seen it work so many different ways, but I think Karen's right. It's those formative years and the early years at home when that all those everything really comes together for the kid, and by the time we get them in the classroom, we can reinforce that's when magic is happening.
Yeah. I'm reading all the comments here, and there's one I'm curious about this. How do you help children with trauma? I mean, I am highly
Yeah.
undertrained for that. I have my degree in music education, but
Right.
not trauma counseling.
Right. Here's, dude, this is what everyone should know. Everyone comes to school and we teach them all. Like, we're not picking and choosing kids.
Right.
We're not just picking and choosing kids that are ready to learn. We're not picking and choosing kids that had supportive parents. Kids are coming to us that have two amazing parents that go to youth group, once a week. They're phenomenal and crazy talented and beautiful and bright. And we're getting kids also that have gone through just unimaginable experiences. And we're what we're doing, we're expecting the same results from both kids.
Now,
And it's, yeah, and yeah, like, that trauma piece is really, really challenging. And again, you know what I'm trying to do in my classroom, brother? I'm trying to create the one place that this kid can feel safe and know that they're loved and know they're going to be loved relentlessly no matter what. And even like no matter how they act, I'm going to love them anyway.
Mhm.
And like that's where I start with that. Just trying
Yeah.
to create that place where they're going to show up every day and know this is the one place that they feel safe and they can feel that they're part of my family, feel they're part of that classroom, feel a part of something bigger than themselves.
Right.
Because a lot of these kids don't have that family at home. I'm trying to create that family for them in class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Hey man, let's give away some money. You want to?
Oh yeah, I would do a drum roll right now.
That's a professional drum roll. Here we go. The winner. First gift card. Thank goodness. Thank God for Craig at Newmark Philanthropies. Kathy Clark Christ. Kathy Clark Christ. Hey, if you message the Help a Teacher Facebook page, they will hook you up with either an Amazon or Target $100 gift card. And there's a second one. Drum roll, please. So professional. Charlotte G. Knight Sills. There you go, Charlotte. Charlotte, if you message into the Help a Teacher Facebook page, we will get you set up with either an Amazon or Target $100 gift card. Thank God for Craig Newmark Philanthropies, supporting teachers, loving teachers.
Nice.
And yeah, absolutely. Hey, Janice, thank you. I appreciate you. And Karen, you're amazing. Everybody chiming in tonight. Thank you so much, everybody. We really, really appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all you do for your kids. And the most important, honorable profession on the planet, standing before kids, accepting the honor and privilege. Our leaders of tomorrow sitting in your classroom today. How crazy is that?
It's incredible.
I love it. Yeah, man.
You got a great thing happening here, Hal. You're a pillar of the community, and you've been in this for so long, man. And you're doing a great thing, man. I'm getting weepy here. I think this is great.
Yeah, man, you're great. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for helping teach our Facebook page. We appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And you guys have an amazing night. We'll see you.
Nice, man.